Hey there YouTube, how's it going? Nerdy Narwhal here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Threezero 6-scale Night King action figure. Now before I start off here, I want to say that I have had this figure in hand for quite a while, but it wasn't actually mine to do a review of. I had it up for trade, and it was going to be going to a new home, but just recently we reneged on our deal and swapped out this figure for another one, so I'm excited today to finally be doing a review of it because it's just been sitting in my storage waiting to be shipped off for a little while now. And it's good to have it in hand to do a review. Honestly, I wasn't super interested in this figure, even though I am a huge fan of Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire, and I wanted to still pick up more figures from that line, but this character is exclusive to the TV show and not the books. So, I was sort of iffy on it, and he also didn't really do too much in the show. But I have it in, and I'm pleased to say that it is a great figure and a great addition to the display. It really ties things together. So let's jump right in and have a look at it. First of all, when I first saw this figure, I was a little bit disappointed because I thought Threezero was just reusing basically all of the pieces from their White Walker figure, and then I had a closer look at this figure and realized, oh no, there's really not a lot of reuse at all. There's a lot of stuff that's actually different here, but the motif between this guy and the Threezero figure are so closely tied together that I couldn't honestly tell until I got them side by side or compared photographs of them. So this is a great figure in its own right, but when he is behind the army of White Walkers, he definitely shines even more in a collection. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the camera off of its stand and go in for some close-ups before we get rolling with articulation and accessories. So first, let's have a look at that head. It is a very well done sculpt. A character like this really gives a lot of room for the artist to jump into and really capture a solid likeness. Lots of lines, all that cracking up in the skull or the crown. That looks really good there. I like it quite a bit. Now, one thing that I do have a little bit of a quibble with, it doesn't really look like he's made out of ice so much as it looks like he's made out of stone. I don't think there's enough blue or gray being used, as opposed to just gray and a little bit of white. So that really does make him, we know he's made out of ice, so it does the job, but he also just easily looks like he could be made out of stone. Now look at these accessories real quick. It's almost hard to get it to show up on camera there because of how translucent they are. But I'm wondering if some of the plastic that they used for his spear and his sword, had they used that up at the tip top of his points, if that would have conveyed him being made out of ice a little bit better than the plastics that they had gone with. So now what I'm going to do, and this might not show up at all, I've never actually done this in a review before, but I'm going to pull up a picture of the Night King and put it up right behind the figure so that you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. So see, on camera here from the show, a lot of his little points from his crown do get a little more translucent towards the top. And here on the 6-scale figure, they just remain basically the same color as his face and his skull. So, yeah, oh well. I do understand that it can be pretty challenging maybe to capture that sort of a gradient with a head sculpt, and especially from Threezero. You need to taper your expectations a little bit. But the sculpt itself and the paintwork that we do have is quite nice all of its own, and he does look absolutely menacing. So let's get a quick look at the accessories that he comes with. I'm going to turn this guy around real quick, and you will see that we have his ice spear. The same spear that he uses more or less to kill the dragon. Oh, spoiler alert, but sorry about it. Yes, he uses that to kill the dragon in the season 7 finale, I think it was. So that's cool. I have that just posed through his back straps, and you can alternate which weapon you have him with. He also comes with, and I'll get it raised up here because it's in his hand currently, his... In fact, I'm just going to take it out. Or I won't. There. He also comes with his sword thing. I guess it's like a sword staff. I'm not sure. It was a pretty cool looking weapon, and it was entirely unique to the Night King in the Game of Thrones TV show. None of the other White Walkers used anything like it. This big sort of scimitar looking thing. And the work on it is nice. It comes down into these tassels here, which is a piece that you can actually pop off and then put back on upside down. And they are made out of rubber this time. On the White Walker release, they were actually made out of really thin tinsel. So this time they decided to go back and give us a rubber piece that you can pop on and pop off when you're removing the sword. That's fine. All of the ice work in the weapons looks pretty good. Again, the color is almost being drowned out. I wonder if I turn off one of my lights. There. You see how much they just catch the light and almost glow with it. So they do convey his weapons being made out of ice pretty darn well. And I do like that. Now going into articulation, his head is on a ball joint at the top of the neck, and then another ball joint, I think, inside of there. Not entirely sure. They are reusing the same body, I'm positive, that they used for their White Walker, as well as the hands and the feet and the undersuit, but that's really the only reuse. Anyways, head can look up wonderfully well. So he can look up and take aim at a dragon if that's what you wanted him to do. He can also look down very nicely. In fact, the way that the eyes are sculpted on this guy, that gives him a really menacing, almost still looking forward look. But he can look down that well. He can get a little bit of attitude if you want him to. Rotates all the way around. It's a ball joint. You know what those do if you've been collecting for a while. His arms will go up to 90 degrees, no problem. There is a double jointed bend at the elbows, but that's about as far as you're going to get it with the armor pieces. Still, that is nigh on 90 degrees, so not too shabby. And the hands are on your standard 6-scale wrist pegs. There is not really any crunch in the torso. That's because all of this armor that you're seeing right here is a hard rubber shell, so you're not going to get anything there. But if you do need any bend, his hips are relatively unrestrained, so he can bend over at the ball jointed hips. He can kick out about that far, which isn't too bad. All of his joints also are on a nice tight ratchet, so there we go. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but they're on a good ratchet joint. Let's lift up his skirt a little bit. Good double jointed bend at the knees, which gives you about 90 degrees also with that boot. I could probably force it a little bit more because that is a soft fabric material being used for the top of the boots. And down here at the foot, you will notice that there's a cut right here where this fabric ends, and this becomes a double ball joint, so you get a huge range of motion. So now I'm going to set this guy back down, and we will just take a look at him. There we go. Like I said, it's Threezero, so you kind of know what you're getting into. Very few of their figures have really knocked it out of the park. However, this is probably one of the better figures from their Game of Thrones license. There is some slight weathering, some snow effect going through all of the armor, And that's one thing that Threezero does really well, I think, is their weathering. I think because it is a monster head sculpt likeness and not a actual human likeness that they really need to capture, that gave them some wiggle room also for really nailing the sculpt. And same with the paintwork, more or less, because they don't need to nail a natural skin tone, which Threezero still can struggle with. He also comes with a gripping hand on either side as well as that open hand, so if you want to get him in his probably more iconic pose at the end of the Battle of Hardhome, where his hands are casually sort of raised up and he's summoning the dead to come and fight for him, you can totally do that, but I'm pretty good with just one of those open claw hands and a gripping hand to hold his sword. I will probably, with photographs, recreate my own ending to Game of Thrones. No offense to the showrunners, but I would have liked to see the Night King do a little bit more and probably dive into the mystery of his character a little bit. Now, that's more or less going to wrap up the review. One thing that I am going to do, though, is get him out here next to a White Walker and a white so that you can see how this guy does on full display with some other characters if you wanted to build a full-on Night King sort of diorama. Now, I'm using some custom snow display bases in my display case for these guys, which really tops it off quite well. Very deep, heavy snow. There we go. There is one of his allies, a White Walker from Threezero. And when they're side by side like this, you can see how the armor matches but isn't the exact same, and I do really like that. This guy is actually a little bit more articulated than the Night King, and that's okay. Well, only because he uses more of this fabric type armor with less of this heavy rubber armor overlaying it. But you can see they look awesome together. Let's get the White Walker pose with his hand up real quick because we are going to summon a white to go forth and do their evil bidding. Get a white in there. There we go. And there's that. So, yeah, I apologize. My light box is a little bit on the small side, so getting 3 figures in there is kind of a stretch. But all of these guys just look awesome together. This white, by the way, isn't really a Threezero piece. It was actually a custom piece, but this is more or less my display. I've got the White Walker over here, I've got the Night King, and I've got a white, and that just sort of represents the most evil in Game of Thrones. So it's a fun little display, and I think that having the Night King in there really tops it all off nicely. So once again, I'm glad that he's in the collection. Even if it's not, going to be winning figure of the year from anybody, it is a cool piece, and if you want it, I honestly think that you will see prices go a bit lower on this guy, maybe down to the 160, 150 range, kind of where the White Walker is now. That said, you can find him for about 180 right now, and that's a great value for a 6 scale figure, especially for a villain. We don't get a whole lot of villains in 6 scale. Most companies focus on the heroes, so it's always nice when you can get somebody to fill out the ranks of the bad guys. And for 180 or so, well below market average for a 6 scale figure, do pick him up. I can suggest it if you want to. Again, if you want to wait, maybe you'll be able to find him cheaper later. Given how Game of Thrones ended, a lot of Threezero's pieces are going for low right now. Good time to pick some up before the next book comes out if it regains some popularity. But yeah, I can totally suggest it. It's a cool figure. It's not perfect, but it's really cool. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it. So if you have any questions, please feel free to get at me in the comments. Otherwise, stay happy, stay healthy, and keep on collecting. Bye-bye.